morning, good afternoon, everyone. We are starting our Unboxed webinar today on AI. I am just going to give a couple of minutes to wait for more people to join, and then we'll kick off. Well, in honor of people who joined at 11 o'clock, we are just gonna kick off. So hello everyone and welcome to our special webinar today. My name is Alejandra Urquijo and I am the Brand Marketing Director at Team International. Today we have a very fascinating journey to explore, which is the story behind the creation of Team International's AI Studio. It's a story of innovation, collaboration, and a bold vision to revolutionize industries using AI. Before getting started, just want to let you know that if you have any questions, you can always drop them at any time in our chat box. At the end of this conversation, in our Q&A section, we will be addressing them. Anyway, to kick things off, I am delighted to introduce to you Tim Williams, our Global CTO and Chief Customer Officer here at Team International. Tim has been an integral part of our journey, and he's got some great stories to share on how our AI studio evolved from a bold idea into a groundbreaking reality. Hello, Tim. You're on mute.
It wouldn't be a meeting with me if I didn't start off on mute. So thank you very much for that introduction. Appreciate it.
Well, Tim, let's share with all the people that are joining. I know you know the ins and outs of how all this story of AI Studio came about.
Well, maybe the first thing I ought to explain is what is a studio? So we've had this concept of studios at Team International for a while, and really all that is it's a group of people that specialize in a certain discipline. So some of our studios are organized around services that we provide. So for example, we have a very large studio in infrastructure managed services, and that includes all of our folks who are doing anything from help desk customer support to application support to DevOps and infrastructure management, things like that. We also have a studio for data, which encompasses services like analytics, data quality, data management, and even design studio, where if you think about the service of really good user interface design and structuring your software so that you can update those things well. And we also have studios organized just around technologies. So we have a lot of people, we do a lot of custom software development. So we have a big Java community, a big Python community. So we've had this idea of studios, for a while at Team International. You asked specifically about kind of the AI studio. And so let me, Team's history with AI. Team's been in business for over 20 years. We've done worked with many clients, done a lot of different solutions. And in the course of doing that, we've done some AI work. We've done some traditional, neural network, predictive analytics kind of things. But, as recently as I'd say late 2022, for us, we didn't have like critical mass in people actively working on things that would fall under this AI umbrella that we would have a studio for it. It was just one of many technologies that that we are aware of and had some level of competence in, but we didn't have that critical mass, right? Now, the reason I mentioned Q4 of 2022 is probably most people remember that's when ChatGPT came on the scene, and shortly was followed by all of these other large language models, and it really kind of captured the imagination of the whole world because there was this apparent leap in technology where it seemed to behave in a very different way, and we could do a lot. People started imagining, hey, there's all kinds of really cool things that could be done, right? And so like a lot of businesses everywhere, and especially those in technology, we started saying, okay, what does this mean for us? The first thing that came to mind, though, was we need to make sure we're not introducing any additional risk for our clients, our customers, right? So security, intellectual property, privacy, those things are really important. And because we do a lot of collaborative software development with clients, one of the things people were starting to do with like ChatGPT was ask it to write some code or drop some code in and ask it to proof the code. And so what we did first of all was really understand, what were our clients doing, what was their risk tolerance, and then develop a acceptable AI use policy within the company that would protect our clients against people, using tools in an inappropriate way. So just, the current state is we don't use any kind of AI on customer code without explicit permission and collaboration from that customer, right? So that was one of the first things we wanted to address. Kind of got that settled, and then so that was kind of let's take care of the downside and the risk. What's the upside? So again, like a lot of companies, we're starting to ask, how can we use AI to transform our own business, and what is this going to mean for our clients and for the industry? What do we need to know? How is this going to change applications? So we're kind of in this phase where everybody could see huge potential, but the first steps weren't quite obvious, right? So we were still kind of working on this idea and brainstorming and thinking about some things. And actually, it was one of the first things that was concrete was we had a client who approached us with a business problem. And the best solution that we came up with collaboratively for them was to use one of these large language models to solve a business problem for them. And it's a spoiler alert, but we have a representative from that particular customer with us today that'll help tell that story of how we got kickstarted in AI. And this is like maybe summer of 2023 when this started to happen. And right around this same time, Matt Moore, who is the founder of Team International and our CEO and a bit of a visionary, said, "Hey, it feels like we've got to get going. We're not sure what we're going to do with AI, but I got a way to find out. We're going to have a hackathon." And so what we did with this hackathon was a way to reach out and engage all of the professionals at Team with hundreds of years of experience collectively among all of them who've been doing various projects. And, we went through two phases. One was kind of an ideation phase. So anybody, whether you're a technical person or an administrative or office person, what are some ideas you have for how we could use artificial intelligence? And then we selected a handful of those, and we went into an execution phase, and we, did the hackathon thing where we had a period of intense development, and we had people demonstrate things. And, coming out of that experience and right at the same time launching this really interesting project with a client, Matt made the second very decisive strategic decision. Says we're going to fund a full-time dedicated team that does nothing but AI applications. And they've got a couple of missions. One is transform Team International. So how can we do our business better, serve our customers better, and also be current with the research, be thinking of services and things that we can provide for our clients. And so, that's really where we are today.
That's amazing. And I think we are very lucky to have such a great team behind, because I do remember the hackathon, and it was such a great initiative. And the number of ideas that are, within Team are amazing. And the fact that we have the possibility to actually execute them, I think that's what makes it so exciting, not just for us, but obviously in terms of what we can offer to our clients. So, Tim, you were talking about this person who actually came with a problem that the business had.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why we are here. I'm guessing you refer to Eduardo Manrique, who is part of the Hibbett team. So Eduardo, I'm just gonna welcome you here. Hi, Eduardo, how are you?
Hi, Alejandra. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, well, very happy to have you here. So as Tim was saying, we would like to hear more about this story, which obviously came to Team already as an opportunity for the business and for the involvement of Team International. How would you describe it? How did it work?
Well, that's a fascinating story. Basically, it all started with a spark of innovation during one of our weekly calls with Team Butch. We were brainstorming ways of to make SharePoint information easily accessible for employees. And at that moment, the Power Platform emerged as a frontrunner. Now, you might be thinking, SharePoint, Power Platform, how does that magic happen? You can imagine SharePoint as a treasure trove of knowledge and Power Apps or the Power Platform as the key that unlocks it and transform data into dynamic and user-friendly applications. So at that moment sounded pretty cool. So, but at that time, Tim dropped a bombshell. He said the analytics team already had a big dream. So they envisioned an AI-powered chatbot, basically a digital assistant for store employees. So could the Power Platform handle such a great ambition? I assure him that while the Power Platform was incredibly versatile, we need to tap into the power of Azure Cognitive Services to create the chatbot brain that is basically the knowledge base. Why? Well, Azure Cognitive Services is like this incredible toolbox filled with AI capabilities, including natural language understanding, which is perfect for building a chatbot that truly comprehends human queries. And at that moment, team sites light up. So because we had the tech stack, we have the possibilities, and it all clicked. So we started envisioning, and we had like this secret formula that it was basically the confirmation of the team. We present Julian, who is our brilliant AI architect, and Jurani, who is our Power Platform specialist. So I was more than confident that together they had the expertise to bring this chatbot to life. And at that moment, Team looping John, who is basically his partner in crime within Hibbett, and John came perfectly as the fire starter to get this project implemented and going. And as people say, the rest is history.
That's such a fantastic story, Eduardo. So yeah, you're mentioning here a key person in this whole webinar, and I think we are very fortunate to have him on board and to be part of team because we know that more than anything we are partners. So yes, I want to welcome John Duchock with us today. Hello, John.
Hi guys, how are you?
So John is the Director of Corporate and Collaboration Applications and Support at Hibbett Sports. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Perfect. Right. Thank you, John, very much for collaborating with us in this webinar. And you know, Eduardo has mentioned the story. Tim has also given a bit of background, but you know, we want to hear a bit more from you and what's been the experience for you working with Team International and implementing all of these different solutions, which have led us into the AI studio.
Yeah, our journey actually began as we needed some assistance in robotic process automation. We were looking to try to to improve processes by automating particular steps. We had about 30 projects that we worked on, and all of them were quite successful. And as we dwindled down our workbook, we began to get a desire from the business that at a store level, there were hundreds of support documents that needed to be consumed and referred to, but we didn't have a very fast way to do that. Users would end up having to pull up documents, scroll through them, find the part that's pertinent to them, and then be able to act accordingly. Some of these documents were hundreds of pages long. So they were spending a lot of time that they could have been selling shoes, selling merchandise on the store, on the floor. They were spending that time actually researching documents, and that was a big problem for us. So when we started taking a look at what the Power Platform and RPA could do to help solve that, that's when we had the Team International come in and say, you know, maybe Power Platform's not the right thing. Take a look at what these Azure services can do. And we also toyed around with using the virtual agent, the Microsoft virtual agent. Now, if you're familiar with that, those types of bots require you to define a path. so that as you're interacting with the bot is actually asking you questions to narrow down your needs to only what you need. Well, with the cognitive is exactly reverse. I'm the one asking the questions, and the bot is responding to everything I need. Not only that, I don't have to build prescriptive flows in order to support particular conversations. Those conversations happen naturally using that large language model, using those cognitive search capabilities. So it became really easy to query the information we wanted to query. Now, on top of that, we needed to have security. So we didn't want our AI to actually go out and read stuff from Reddit or from any other website. We wanted to be able to control all the information that got put into that bot. Now, to do that, we built Power Application that allows us to submit PDF documents. Now, while PDFs aren't completely secure, they're more secure than, say, a Word document. And it included an approval process. So as people submitted content to our knowledge base that comprised these bots, they had to go through an approval process, and they're subject to an expiration process. During the submission, you actually ask it very particular questions that you want to have answered by that submission. So when I submit a new document, I already have to know what questions I think this document should answer. So as I'm submitting those, I will actually give it those samples of questions. Once it's submitted, once it's approved, it's now live and in the bot itself. We ended up having about 340 documents that ranged from 1 page to several hundred pages, all in that knowledge base. Now the users could ask a very specific question or a very vague question, and the bot would actually start to respond. Not only that, it would provide them the reference link that once the bot responded, you could actually drill down into that document and read it for yourself. You don't have to take the bot's word for it. So on top of that, that actually brought our user rate up dramatically. And so we started thinking, well, wait a minute, we don't really know what these people are asking the bot. So how we know that it's answering properly, or if it's answering at all, or people are inappropriately asking questions? And for that, Team International came again and was able to build a process of audit. So now we actually record every conversation from every user, including the bot's response. We put on some analytics so that we can tell what the conversation is about. Using metadata, we can assign those conversations to a department. So as people are conversing with the bot, if they're talking about a human resources subject, human resources is notifying that, hey, someone asked the bot something about HR, you need to go review these conversations, right? So we started being able to bring that ownership of that knowledge and that content out to the business. And we also found that duplicates sometimes occur. So human resources could say one thing and store operations could say something slightly different or completely different. When we started identifying those, that's when we started having these collaborative sessions of all of our knowledge owners so that we are speaking one voice through this bot. And that's been quite easy to do. Once we were able to identify those resources who need to participate in that audit, in that management process, we started making a lot more traction. So that's how we actually came to be in the AI services. We weren't even expecting to use AI, but it wasn't until Julian came to us and said, hey, you should really think about using this. Another huge benefit is the cost of management, which, if we had gone the prescriptive conversation type of bot, we would have to have built a team to support the hundreds of conversations that need to be held. Not really staffed for that. With this solution, those prescriptions are not necessary. And not only that, the Azure services that you buy are pretty cost effective, costing us about $400 a month for the entire system. So inexpensive that we recently needed to split our bot. So we were Hibbett City Gear, and now we're going to become Hibbett and City Gear. Two different banners, two different types of leadership, two different cultures. For that, we needed to split our SharePoint sites, our home pages that our stores use to support themselves. Well, that's where our bot is anchored, is in that SharePoint page, in that store portal is what we call it. Well, when we split that, we said, well, we're going to have to split the bot too. Okay, well, give me 2 hours, and it was split. No lie. This component is so versatile that you could actually take it, pick it up, move it to another site, rebrand it, refeed it data, and it's ready to work for a whole nother company. So it's amazing how quickly we were able to take this one component, scale it out, not just in one business, but now we're ready to scale it to a whole bunch of businesses. So pretty impressive, actually is.
That was my next question, but I think, it's a bit too much asking it that, we're quite satisfied with the result of this product delivered, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have hundreds of users a day using the bot. So, and they're asking all kinds of questions. We are keeping an eye on questions that go unanswered. We're provided a weekly report of all the questions that were unanswered by the bot so that we have an opportunity to backfill that information on a weekly basis. So we do keep it up to date too.
That's great. That's great. And I think you touched a point, which is, I think, part of our mission at Team, which is, the speed of delivery of the service and the solutions that our clients need. So it's very fulfilling knowing that you actually can certify on that. And I think that's very encouraging for the team as well. So that's great. That's great listening to the story from your side. So, thinking of the future, John, what is next on AI for Hibbett?
So we're looking to do a lot with AI with Hibbett. One of the things we would really like to do is, we call our AI KIP. That's his name. Knowledge is power is what that stands for. And we want to teach KIP how to source data from APIs so that the KIP will know who I am because of who is logged in, right? Because we'll have to make API calls to Azure services to get that information. We then want users to be able to ask information about our financial systems or our sales systems, and it produce reports on demand, right? So to be able to say, hey, Kip, I need to know how many of this sneaker I've sold in the past week. And it respond with, on Monday you sold this, on Tuesday you sold that, and actually give us that information back. So we've got some samples where that's actually happening, yay. Our prototype was to have Kip create a ticket in ServiceNow for you guys who are using ServiceNow. You can actually converse with Kip and say, create a ticket from this, and it will actually take that conversation and use REST API, post to ServiceNow, and create a ticket for that user. So you can actually have Kip push and pull data from third-party environments. As long as you can fully define those integrations, you should be all right.
Sounds good. I don't know if Tim has a question. I just saw him there hesitating. Right.
That's just great. I'm just excited to hear about what they're doing and see that's just the beginning of the journey, really, John. So thank you so much. That's awesome.
Look, it wouldn't have been possible without folks like Julian, without folks like Esteban and Ramon. The way you guys have been able to transfer that knowledge from, Julian, who's just a rock star in the arena, and now you've grown more rock stars, and I can count on any of those guys to be able to support us. So it's really great knowing that you've got that knowledge spread across the team.
It is.
That's great. They are going to be very happy, but they are rock stars indeed. Julian has gained such a great recognition, and he's still such a humble guy, isn't he? Like, you talk to him and he's like, he doesn't believe what he is. And I think that's quite fascinating as well. John, in terms, obviously, this is Hibbett, and how do you see, how do you envision AI as a competitive advantage for the business, for the industry?
Oh my goodness. Well, lots and lots of ways. Initially, our desire was to keep a salesperson on the sales floor doing sales stuff, not spending so much time looking up documents. Well, okay, that was definitely achieved and easily. So we're spending seconds doing what used to take us minutes. In a sales situation, you can make several sales in a minute if you're good at it. With the future, if we're able to really harness the API, one of the things we would love to see is a seed I planted with Tim a while back was to be able to say put in an address of a future location and have AI tell me what are the top 10 things I should serve in that store. And it would base that decision on things like how close that location is to the nearest university. So maybe I would want to sell university gear. Or how close is it to an exit ramp from a highway? Or what is the ethnic layout of the community that surrounds that location? Or the annual income of that community? How many people live in that community? How many customers am I likely to get over a period of time? Take that information and compare it with all of our other stores, and then give me a prediction on how well that store would do at that address. Now, that is a lot of reasoning that has to happen behind the scenes. But I think now that we're made aware at how well the cognitive engine in the Azure services work, I don't think that's something we can't achieve with that. So being able to use AI for some predictive analytics is really coming up on our list.
Yeah, it makes total sense. That's the power, isn't it? I
Yes.
used to say it, and then I realized a lot of people say that data is the new oil. So if you don't know how to use it or how to make the most of it, especially with new technologies like AI, it's like, you have nothing. You just have a package. So it's very exciting. And I think what you say, especially thinking from a customer perspective, it's, you are fulfilling people's wishes faster than they expect, which is, what we want when we go into a store, that we don't even have to browse through things, but, basically have it delivered in front of our eyes. So, and that's the magic behind AI and, how retail business or businesses like Hibbett make the most of it. And that's at the end of the day represented in numbers, in growth, in profit, and, the whole business story as we know it. That's amazing, John. That's really, really cool. I don't know, Tim, if you have any questions before we jump into the questions that we have in our Q&A section, or
No,
anything you want to highlight.
John, just to remind you, we got a meeting on the calendar this afternoon to talk about that idea you have. So we'll see if we can make some progress on that. So now let's go to questions, Alondra. Yep, we'll be there.
Perfect. Let me just go through very quickly through the questions. We have a couple of good questions here. So we have from David Echeverri, and he's asking, can you explain the structure of the AI team and the roles required for the implementation of the bot and how they integrated with the Hibbett team? I don't know if that would be a Tim or an Eduardo question.
That's an Eduardo question for sure.
For this specific project, as John was saying, we included Julian, who was our AI architect. We used Talent as Durrani as a Power Platform specialist, also Esteban as a Power Platform specialist, because basically we wanted to create this knowledge base using Azure Cognitive Services, but then we were asking how we can make that information available. So that's when the Power Platform kicks in, and our specialists as well, on how to create those pipelines and how to make available that information and how people consume. So we create this interface using the Power Platform while using Azure Cognitive Services as the brain of the project. So to kick off this project, we use one AR architect and two Power Platform specialists.
I think David might have been asking, like, it seems like such a small team to have achieved this, right? And sometimes we work and we have a few people that fold into like a team of 30 people maybe on Hibbett's side that was doing the project. So that's, let's be clear. Is this the whole team, or was there, another group? I know there were a lot of business folks on your end responsible for the knowledge base, John, but were there other technical resources from Hibbett?
Yeah, on our side, we involved our Azure administrator, architect, because I don't own the Azure services. I'm a customer of the Azure services that actually falls under our infrastructure team. So we had those folks join us. We actually had some folks from billing join us. And between those infrastructure folks and the billing folks, we were able to construct this using a specific subscription in the Azure services. And now we have explicit cost control. So we thought a little bit ahead of that because we had those partners in the room. We had our Azure administrator who knew about subscriptions, and we had our finance folks who were like, who's going to pay for this? So we were able to satisfy both of those. Feeding the documents themselves, we collaborated with 10 of our district sales manager as well as our store operations team. And they're the ones that really vetted the information before we fed it. So that did take quite a bit of time on our side. So preparing the information you want to feed to your AI is really something you can never start too soon. So, so our team sure, it was 3 folks, 3 plus or minus, because we also had Gabriel for a while, right? So we had 4 for a while. And Gabriel helped manage the project too from their side so that it would run seamlessly. Now, but there was about 15 on our side. So it was actually a bigger effort on the customer side than it was on TI side, but it was happily met, and we got it done really quickly too. So the turnaround time, what would you say it was, Eduardo? It's about 4.5 months we were able to have our beta ready.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Almost 5 months, yes.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting that the actual technical team, doing the coding and putting everything together was relatively small compared to the number of people that had to organize the knowledge, right? And that's another one of the truisms of artificial intelligence is you're only as good as the data that you have. And so, like you said, it's never too early to start preparing your data, whatever form that's in, whether it's financial data or system data or knowledge, policy, how-to kind of data. You can't really skip that step. And so we find that actually our AI studio and our data studio are often partners because that quality. And in your case, it was really more about kind of creating the workflow to do the approvals and all of that. But no shortcut. If the knowledge isn't there, somebody's got to get it on paper. So well done.
One thing very important at this point, because I know the difference between the number of technical team and the business team. It's because these type of projects are also very related to ethics. So you might think like, okay, we need to establish guidelines and review all the processes to align with Hibbett's prioritizing their fairness, the transparency, and privacy. So we include all these process validations, role, responsibilities, access. So we need to align all that information into the technical aspect and guarantee a safe project.
That's interesting. There was a question I think related to it, so that was kind of spot on, Eduardo. Thanks for tackling it. Because security is such an important thing, isn't it? And especially when we're working with clients, it's just part of the relationship and the scalability of it. So I know we take it very seriously, but again, having it reassured by the team, it's quite important. Right. I have another question here. And I think this may go to Team. So to what extent can Team International's AI studio solutions can be customized? Are they adaptable to meet specific business challenges across various industries?
Well, why, yes, of course they are. I'll give you a few examples. I haven't talked as much about what Team International is doing internally, but I'll give you a quick summary, right? John's in the sporting goods retailing business, right? Sports apparel retailing business. And so they had a very specific challenge about their store associates, right? Team International is in a professional services business, and we deal in, human knowledge and capacity, right? So when you look at the mundane aspects of that, that means a lot of times we're looking at resumes, which is how people, that's the data that defines, that's our database for talent, really. And so one of the very mundane things that Team International has to do is, if we're interviewing someone from outside the company and trying to understand, what they're good at, and then present them maybe to a client. Somebody like John says, "Hey, here's Julian, here's Shirani, do you want to work with these people?" We try to put their resumes in a professional, common format that has Team International branding on it and is organized in a consistent way, right? So that was one of the manual jobs we were doing, was converting resumes. So our AI Studio team has built a tool that does that. Much like John was saying, theirs is built on PDFs. Ours will take a resume in any PDF format and turn it into a Team International branded resume Word document that you can edit. Right now, why do I mention that? Can you customize that? Absolutely. The general idea there is taking documents that are logically similar but different in format and standardizing them, right? So could you apply that to things like even policy documents or invoices or contracts, leases, things like that? So in general, what we're finding is when you solve one business problem, you're really mastering some fundamental things that can solve others, right? We also have our own instance of a Team International, knowledge assistant. It's not as far along as KIP. John, I don't know if we've told you this. Ours is called TINA, so it has to have a nice name to it. It stands for the Team International Navigation Assistant. And we are addressing in parallel some of the same things you are, like tying it to user access so we can give answers that are appropriate for the right user, and doing some things like that. We're talking to a number of different clients who also want to take this idea of chatbots as it's really an assistant for a type of worker. You have a store assistant chatbot. We're building another custom one that's for recruiters, right? We're talking to another client about something for their financial department, for something very specific that they want to do. So, I know the question was, are these things customizable? Absolutely. Like that resume converter, we've got a couple of clients, who are also in professional services who want that. And, the silly thing is, can we put our logo on it? Of course. Can we organize it a different way? Of course. So all those things are highly customizable. But I want